What's going on, everybody? My name is Michael Weer, and today we are talking about the latest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is the latest entry into the MCU, but it is also the culminating end of Marvel Phase 4. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Marvel has broken all of their Marvel Cinematic Universe into 3 phases previous to this phase, and in those phases they would all culminate in the end with all of the heroes from that phase coming together to fight someone in an Avengers movie. This phase ended with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and it didn't end with all of the heroes coming together, which was a little weird, but then when you watched this phase in its entirety, you realize that this phase was really setting up the MCU for many years to come. We were introduced to brand new characters like Shang-Chi and the Eternals. We also got to see Thor in his 4th movie and get to see that crazy ride that he's going on. We saw Black Widow, and that was a little bit out of place, but honestly, it was still a fun movie, and it set up Yelena, Black Widow's sister, to go after Hawkeye in the Hawkeye series. And while we're on the subject of series, this is the first phase to include Marvel Cinematic Universe TV shows to incorporate into their movies. So if you weren't paying attention and you weren't carrying along on Disney Plus, you might miss something from here on out. So it has been a mixed bag of a phase. There's been a lot thrown at us, and again, I think they were setting up for future phases, so this is just a growing pains phase that we needed to get through. Not to say that all the movies in this phase are bad. In fact, most of them are enjoyable, but most of them are not on the same level as previous phases. In my personal opinion, the best movie from this entire phase is Spider-Man No Way Home, but they used a lot of nostalgia and pulled at my heartstrings when they brought Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back as different Spider-Men. And that may sound like a spoiler, but it came out a year ago, so it shouldn't be a spoiler at this point. The point I'm making is that this phase culminated with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and today we are going to look at the final movie in Marvel's Phase 4, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Let's do the review. Alright guys, so I had to cut the audio out of this video, and the reason why is because YouTube will monetize anything with music in the background right now. Like, not monetize for you, monetize for itself. Like, it won't let you monetize if you don't have enough subscribers, you don't have enough viewers, or whatever the case may be, but it'll monetize the shit out of your video if you play some music in it. And I think that's wrong. They did that to me with Where the Crawdads Sing. Taylor Swift doesn't have enough money. Like, it's just irritating. Anyway, that's why there's no audio. And so guys, Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever is directed by Ryan Coogler. Now, Ryan Coogler also directed the original Black Panther movie, and before I get into the synopsis of this movie, of course I have to talk about the passing of Chadwick Boseman, because it was out of nowhere, completely tragic, and Chadwick was taken way too soon. I mean, when I saw the Black Panther movie, it was like when I saw Iron Man the first time. I said Robert Downey Jr. was born to play Iron Man. And when I saw the Black Panther movie, I said the exact same thing about Chadwick Boseman being born to play Black Panther. I thought he was a perfect Black Panther. After Chadwick passed, and again it was tragic, Marvel made the very controversial decision to not recast T'Challa. They decided Chadwick Boseman could not be replaced in that role, and so they decided to go ahead and make T'Challa also pass away in the movie. And when I heard that, I was devastated that we weren't going to get more T'Challa. And I really did think that Black Panther, the storyline, what it deserved, was a recasting, but they didn't do that. And that was their creative decision to make, and so we had to roll with it into Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now I'll get into the synopsis of this movie. I just wanted to take a second and sort of, acknowledge the passing of Chadwick Boseman. It's very tragic. It was very sad. But as far as this movie goes, you are now dealing with a Wakanda without the presence of a Black Panther, because in the original Black Panther movie, Michael B. Jordan's character, Killmonger, destroyed... Remember when I made my first Black Panther review and I called him Kilgore? So anyway, he destroyed all of those magical flowers after he took the Black Panther serum, so that he was the last Black Panther and no one would try to take him off the throne because they needed a protector. Of course, T'Challa came back and was their Black Panther, but now that T'Challa has passed in this universe, there is no more of this magical potion to create a Black Panther, so Wakanda is without a protector. I mean, granted, they still have the Guard, they still have their warriors, they still have their elite technology, so they're pretty safe, or at least that's how they see it, but they don't have a Black Panther. And now Angelo Bassett's character, who played T'Challa's mother is the queen of Wakanda, and basically everything is resting on her shoulders. You see her at UN meetings, you see her throughout the movie dealing with diplomatic things and also dealing with the people, and just to be clear, she killed it in this role. So while all of that is going on in Wakanda, we turn to the oceans because under the surface, there is a storm brewing with Namor and the people of Marvel's version of Aquaman and Atlantis. That's the best way I can put it. What they have is they have vibranium. While vibranium before was only found in Wakanda, there was vibranium found under the sea, and so the US government is now trying to take that vibranium out, but as it turns out, that vibranium is right over the place where Namor and his people live, and so he starts going to battle with them. And Namor comes to Wakanda to try and strike a deal between these two countries and say, listen, we've got all the vibranium, we need to protect it, let's go to war with everybody else. And of course, war is bad, and so the people of Wakanda say, we're not going to do that, and trouble ensues from there. That's about as much of the plot as I can give you without spoiling things. I think I've given you a little bit more than the trailers have already, and I'm sorry for that, but I just wanted to kind of set this movie up for you guys. But without spoiling anything, let me get into my likes and my dislikes for this movie. So my first like for this movie is actually going to be performances that were given in this movie, and there's three people in particular that I think stood head and shoulders above everyone else in the performances they gave in this movie. Now the first one is someone I've already talked about, and that is Angelo Bassett. I think she was phenomenal. I thought all of her emotional beats were perfect, and it would not surprise me if she gets nominated for an Academy Award for her portrayal of this character in this movie. She just did a great job, and every time she spoke, I listened. The second person is Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Yeah, that's right, Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld. She's been a character they've sort of started to create in Marvel Phase 4, and I really enjoy her villainous, evil government character, because that's something that, while it hasn't been lacking in the MCU, there's been some sort of like William Hurt character or something going on there. It's really fun to see this character. She's a political bad guy, and I feel like we got a little bit of that in the Winter Soldier movie with Robert Redford, but ultimately I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus in this movie. I think that her government baddie being set up for future phases is going to be fun, and I really hope that she has something to do with Thunderbolts. And finally, the last person I want to talk about is Winston Duke playing M'Baku. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this movie is very emotional, very heavy, and it's dealing with grief, but anytime M'Baku is on the screen, he is hilarious. He brought the levity to this movie. It was much needed levity. There wasn't a lot of it. There were some cool action scenes. You were like, yeah, that's cool, but it didn't like make you laugh. But anytime M'Baku speaks, it is funny. I had a great time with his character. So those are three performances that I wanted to talk about in my likes for this movie. Next like is the action scenes. Again, it's a Marvel movie. Marvel does great with action. Now, there's not as much action as I had hoped for in this movie. I thought there could have been a lot more. And I will be honest, toward the end, the final fight scene between Namor and someone that I can't really talk about is a little disappointing. It's just a little disappointing. However, I enjoyed, there is a battle between Okoye, who's the lead of the Wakanda Guard, and several people from Namor's homeland. It escapes me at the moment, like Tech something. The point is Atlantis. It's just Atlantis. Okay. So those two have a fight on a bridge. Actually, it's a few of them versus Okoye, and she's just such a badass character, but she gets thrown around too in this scene, and it is a really fun scene. So I will say that Okoye's fight on the bridge is a noteworthy like for this movie. It's just badass. I could see myself rewatching this movie and kind of fast forwarding to that scene just to enjoy that fight scene. So it's really fun, and I just loved it. But the final thing I'll say that I liked about this movie is the world building. Like I said earlier, Phase 4 has been all about world building, preparing for the next phase, and I feel like this scene in particular was no different. I felt like it did a great job world building into the next phase of the MCU, because you had to build everything going on with Namor's people, and you also had to deal with everything going on in Wakanda, and now with Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, you're dealing with the government kind of looking into these things. So it's just fun to see all the world building. Unfortunately, that's where my likes end for this movie, and I have to get into my dislikes. Now, while I personally enjoyed the world building that was in this movie, I did feel like it hurt the pace a little bit, and it may not have hurt the pace had there not been all of the emotional beats with every character getting the chance to grieve. And so I do feel like between the world building and all of the grieving and the very minimal action scenes in this movie, the pace of this movie felt off, at least to me. It was almost 3 hours long, and every character, well, every main main character, gets the chance to grieve for 10 to 15 minutes apiece. Plus you have all the world building, you're learning about Namor, his people, you're understanding his quest like Marvel likes to do. And while all of that is important and all of that was good one time around, I don't see it having the rewatchability that I hoped it would have going forward, because the pace of this movie just feels off. So that is my first dislike. My only other real dislike for this movie would be the character of Ironheart. Yeah, I just wasn't a big fan of Ironheart. I didn't feel the attachment to her that maybe this movie could have set up. I liked that she was at MIT. I liked that she was very smart, and so they grabbed her and they brought her to Wakanda for reasons that I can't talk about, and then she creates the Ironheart suit. Like, all of that was cool, but I just didn't have the same connection, and I was hoping there would be some sort of connection between her and Tony Stark. And there wasn't. I don't know if that was a thing in the comics, or maybe all of this is very comic accurate and I just haven't read the Ironheart comics. The point I'm making is I didn't even like the suit that she had. It wasn't cool. Like, I don't know, it seemed like they wasted an opportunity here to do something kind of special. Like maybe Tony Stark had a program that she was in, or something like that. And there was no mention of Tony. It was just, oh, I can make an Iron Man suit too. And that was part of the magic of Iron Man 2, because no one could create what Tony Stark had created in a cave with a box of scraps. I don't do it as good as Jeff Bridges did it, but you get what I'm saying.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps! Well, I'm sorry. I'm not Tony Stark.
The point I'm making is that I wasn't a big fan of that character, and again, adding that character to this movie hurt the pacing because it was just more world building that it had to do, ultimately to springboard off another Disney Plus show that I probably won't enjoy or finish. I feel like I start all the Disney Plus shows and then I never get there. Overall, guys, though, I enjoyed this movie to a point. I enjoyed it the first time around, but I don't think this movie has the rewatchability or the draw to bring me back. Like I said earlier, with the action scene that I really liked with Okoye, I may go back to this movie on Disney Plus at some point in the future and watch that scene because it is a badass Marvel scene. But everything else in this movie was sort of a springboard to more Namor stuff, more Black Panther stuff, and in the end, they tried to give Chadwick Boseman, aka T'Challa, they tried to give him like I'll call it a Paul Walker send-off, where they do a montage of him, and while it's sweet and emotional, it just didn't have the effect on me that, say, the Paul Walker send-off did in Fast 7, and that might be because Fast 7 wasn't completely about Paul Walker passing. In fact, in the movie, he goes off with the family. I'm not saying that's what they had to do with T'Challa in this movie, but again, the emotional beats didn't really work for me throughout the movie. And in the end, when they tried to bring it all together, culminate this whole emotional feeling, it didn't work for me. And that's me personally, and remember, it's my YouTube channel where I give my thoughts on movies. So you're gonna get my thoughts, and those are my true thoughts. With all that said, guys, that's my review for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Have you seen it? Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Maybe we can even talk spoilers down there. That'd be fun. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a like. If you wanna share this video with your friends, make sure to do that by hitting the share button. And finally, guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you do that, because I have a lot of content coming your way, including some Christmas content soon. I still have to review Falling for Christmas, which was a Lindsay Lohan released Netflix movie that was really cheesy, but you know, it's Lindsay Lohan, so I enjoyed it. And then next up we have Violent Night coming in a couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to that. So there's content. It's coming. I might review Die Hard. It's Die Hard. It's Christmas time. I might do it. We'll see. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.